Okay, the people have spoken and Ducktales Remastered is my next video, so woohoo to that I guess. Look, in order to do this review right, I feel that since this game is a remastered / remake of the original NES game, I feel it right to do a small comparison between the both and show the differences. After all, it's not like anyone else has done that. I'll go into categories starting with gameplay, which in truth nothing really has changed from it. I mean, there's an added level at the beginning of the game which serves as the tutorial level, and so that it also gives us an introduction to the storyline, which unlike the original, you just press the start, pick a level and bam, you're in the jungle. Everything else is left intact with you using your cane to push things, to reach places and platform like a champ. So not much else I can really bring to the table in the gameplay apart from I will say the controls are a bit more responsive compared to its predecessor. Actually, I told the lie that I had nothing else to say about the gameplay, and that it's been originally for the NES, the developers decided to keep its difficulty the same also. What with its somewhat difficult platforming, non-stop respawning enemies and bosses and... oh wait, they ain't as difficult as I thought. But it still retains the old NES charm of once you die you start all over again, which you'd guess would make any person go mad or a speedrunner losing what sanity they have left. But no, I really like the idea that this gives the game a somewhat replayability to it and allows the player to rethink their approach, and also a small little nod to the original game also. Next up is the graphics, and I won't linger on this too long as... well, the comparisons are pretty obvious. While the original will always be a classic to anyone who grew up with it, you can't deny the level of detail they put into this, as everything is bright, colourful and looks amazing. Everything stands out and makes each level feel different from the other. While the original is also full of colour and design, I felt that some areas looked a little too similar sadly. On to character design, as which is one of the only things that everyone is probably looking forward to the most. I'll also be brief on this one, as the details will also be very short. Each character has been greatly updated to look more like their cartoon counterparts, as looking a lot more smoother compared to their original design. While Scrooge himself seems to be the most different, as the developers decided to make him look like his cartoon version with the blue jacket instead of his more recognisable red jacket. Music is up next, and my god, the attention to detail for each note is simply breathtaking. I am never delivering a line like that ever again. But in all seriousness, every track was redone beautifully, and I dare say they're better than the original version, as well as complementing them too. What more can I say about the soundtrack? As I've mentioned before, it's simply hold on a second. Found it. Right, it is simply fabuloso! What? A couple of things that the original game doesn't have is one of them is a storyline. Well, actually it kind of does, but unless you have the original manual with the original game too, you wouldn't necessarily know. The other is voice acting. That's right, most of the original cast came back to reprise their roles from the cartoon, and that includes Alan Young as Scrooge McDuck. And I won't lie, it was good to hear his voice as Scrooge again. Gah! Me money!
Hey, don't forget about me, Uncle Scrooge!
Eh? Oh, don't worry, lad, I'll save you.
Great! Then I'll be your eyes in the sky.
Oh, I'd be happy if you just keep your eyes on the sky for once. What an airhead.
Hey, I heard that.
Woohoo! We almost got them all!
A fat lot of good that'll do us if they make it to me vault.
You know, Mr. McD, I had a thought.
Launchpad, why start now and spoil a perfect record?
That's a good question.
Well, I don't have all day. What was your thought?
Pure nostalgia at its finest right here. Look, David Tennant being Scrooge in the new series is still a brilliant choice for the role, but since I grew up with this version as a child, I kind of hold Alan's young performance in high regards, in the same category as I hold Jeremy Brett over Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock Holmes. Finally, enjoyment, because what good is a game if you don't enjoy playing it? And the short answer to this is... Yes, it is. You can truly tell that the developers put their hard work into remaking this game, and it makes sure that it appeals to old and new fans alike. Honestly, the amount of details given to its design and presentation are unbelievable and brilliant. I know that I've been doing nothing more or less praise this game, but don't worry, there are a few problems I have with it. As mentioned a few times in this video, if you couldn't already tell, this game was originally an NES game, and it brought along with it the difficulty spike. As some of the platforming is quite hard for some newcomers, but not impossible, and the constant respawning enemies can put some people off, especially after defeating one only for another to pop out of nowhere. There is an option to select the difficulty at the beginning of the game, but I found that it more or less stays the same regardless, which is a bit of a problem, but thankfully not by much. The other problem is that the game is obviously more controlled oriented, as playing with a keyboard isn't too bad but not great and wouldn't feel comfortable in the long run. So I'd recommend that if you are going to play this game on PC, get yourself an Xbox controller and go to town, as it makes things a little easier to tackle the trickier platforming. So, if anything I've said about this game has got you curious to give it a try, then brilliant, go and have a blast. Sadly, physical copies are kind of hard to find nowadays, but if you look around, I'm sure you'll find something, and also it's on Steam. Plus, on Steam is a little collection called the Disney Afternoon Collection, which features not only the original DuckTales game, but also the others like both Chip and Dale games, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, and the second DuckTales game. Right, I think that wraps this video up, and I might as well get right onto the... What the... hold on a second. Yeah? What? There's another Disney game I need to do? What is it? Who the hell is Maui Mallard?